we go. Thank you for joining us for our October Innovation Gateway Lunch and Learn session. We're very fortunate to have Michael Myers here with us today. He serves as a consultant with the Small Business Development Center unit of the Public Service and Outreach Office at the University of Georgia. Prior to coming to SBDC about, last fall, he served as a corporate level executive in the retail industry for about 25 years and also owned his own consulting firm. So please join me in welcoming Michael.
All right, this cuts down on the questions if you guys' mouths are full while we're doing through this. Just a second, let me put this on. All right, appreciate being here and welcome everybody to this session. What we're going to do is just talk to you a little bit about the Small Business Development Center, which is part of the Office of Public Service and Outreach. The SBDC, we're very proud of it, was founded here at the University of Georgia in 1974 by Dr. Flewellen. So the University of Georgia and the University of California at Berkeley were the first two schools to have SBDC. So Dr. Flewellen, it was his idea, petitioned and went to the Small Business Administration at the federal government, talked to the state of Georgia. And so what we are is we're partially funded. About 46% of our funding comes from the federal government, the SBA. The other 46%, another 46%, comes from the state of Georgia, administered through UGA, Public Service and Outreach. And then the last 8% comes from different programs that we offer that are continuing education type programs for small businesses. We have some signature series called Start Smart, which is for people starting a business. 35 hours of instruction. You get done, you have a business plan that you could turn in to the SBA and try to get money, or a lender or angel investor or somebody like that. And then we have another one for established businesses that are looking to take it from one level to the next and grow, and it's called Grow Smart, and I'll touch on those in just a little bit. I can do it from up here. So, just a little bit quick facts. When we say that we're with the Small Business Development Center, a lot of people think that all we do is work with startups, little businesses that might be Main Street, like florists or restaurants or things like that. Just talk to you about the range that we can. And the fourth quarter of 2015, these are the most recent statistics that are out, there was 296,000 and change businesses that were registered in the state of Georgia that actually paid payroll taxes. So meaning people that were in business and they had either one employee or several employees, but less than 500 employees. So categorized of those 296,000 businesses, 99.8% of them qualified for our services as small business. So that means that they were under 500 employees and they made annual revenues of less than $250 million in top line revenues. So when you think about it, we can work just about with anybody. We joke around the SBDC and say we can work with anybody but Coke and Home Depot. So that's pretty much where we're at. So this is a 5-year impact. We do a lot of impact data study to send to the university, the state, and to the federal government. So over the last 5 years, the businesses we've worked with have done over $8.9 billion in sales. That we've helped them raise over $606 million in capital through just different lending programs or different funding sources. Those businesses we've created 1,547 new businesses, helped them go from what's considered a pre-venture stage to actually operating, and been able to help create 11,785 new jobs in that 5-year span. And we get a lot of high marks, 967 clients responded to a survey. 96% felt that the services were beneficial. 98% would recommend them to other entrepreneurs. So there is something to be said for free, right? That people kind of like that. So over those same 5 years, what we do with this impact studies is we measure against what's going on in the state. So we're just a statewide organization. Employment-wise, the group that we worked with grew their employee base by almost 20%, and the same with their sales. And the red equals the rest of the state. So that includes big and small businesses. So we're pretty proud of the fact that we're able to help people be an extension of their business, trusted advisor, or whatever they need from us as far as services. We got a handout for you. Bart's going to be handing out right now, but just kind of talk a little bit about the consulting services that we offer. In calendar year 2015, we met with 4,270 clients and had almost 35,000 hours of consulting time. And you're saying, wow, that's pretty good for a small little group like that. And I'll show you how big our reach is. But I just, not to make it busy work on a slide, just listed some of the key things that we can help you with. But Bart just passed out to each one of you a list of all the services that we can help you with. And if it's something's not on there, ask, because we can find a way to help you out. Just want to talk about some success stories. Dr. Ram Reddy and his wife Aru started out in 1984 in Royston, just a small practice. It was just Dr. Reddy and his wife. And I think what they did is they got up to 4 employees in that first year. And since 1984, he's grown to now over 90 employees. And I think they just opened their 11th or 12th urgent care center. So he came to us, we worked with him. He took a number of our classes, the Grow Smart. Both he and his wife took it on separate occasions, and we were able to help them, look at it from the business standpoint. He's an excellent physician, very good at medical care, but really didn't have a lot of background from the business perspective. So we were able to help him commercialize his business and help him grow it to get to where he's at today. Talked a little bit about our training programs. We have 17 offices throughout the state. 11 of them work directly with the University of Georgia. 6 of the 17, we have a partnership with the University of Georgia and their particular school, like Kennesaw State, West Georgia, Georgia State. From that standpoint, well, I'll get to those. These are 2 of the signature programs that I talked to you about. The Start Smart is a program that will start right after the first of the year, and it's for somebody interested in starting a business, and we walk them through the business plan. So what we do is we meet 1 day a week for 5 weeks, 7 hours of instruction per day. We serve you breakfast and lunch and have speakers, and then also help you work on that business plan so you can have a well-defined, well-tuned business plan that you can turn in to look at, whatever it is you're trying to do as far from a business standpoint. There's another example of somebody, and it really doesn't going to apply to this group, but we were able to help Amanda Crook. She started off 11 years ago with us and had this dream to open up a pet store. So I'm just trying to show you a little bit of the depth and breadth of the different things that we can do and the different people that we work with. But we helped her. She ended up going through Start Smart. She ended up getting her business plan. She ended up getting funding, and now she has Pawtropolis, and she did come back and take GrowSmart to be able to take it to the next level. So quite a good success story for us and for her. We also have some specialty practices inside of the SBDC. We have a medical practice management unit, which is here in Chicopee, the old building over on Broad Street that during the Civil War is where they made all the guns for the Confederacy, was out of that building. I think it's 260 years old now, so it's haunted, I think. I'm pretty sure from that standpoint. But in the medical practice management, what we're doing right now and hope to add in the future, but right now veterinary students do a rotation through there. And what it is, their rotations for 4 weeks, and what they do is they evaluate veterinary practices. They learn all of the financials about a veterinary practice. So as they're graduating, it gives them, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, an understanding of what's going on. They visit different practices, they evaluate them, they write up evaluations, so it helps them to see it more holistically from the business standpoint. They understand it pretty well from being a vet on the other side. The other group that comes through there right now that has rotations is the pharmacy students. And what we do is we work with them on the small pharmacies. There's quite a few of them here in Athens and the smaller cities. Actually, Atlanta has more than you'd be pretty surprised. But we don't work with the big boxes, the CVS, the Walgreens, but the independent pharmacies, and help them understand through an evaluation process, through working with the financial statements and doing everything that they need to do to understand that business. Now that UGA is getting more involved with Georgia Medical College and the medical program, we're looking at a program for physicians and then also for dentists that would be looked at. There's nothing concrete on that right now, but just be the next logical step. We have an Office of Minority Business Development. And what they do is they help people with 8A certifications, SDB certifications, women-owned small business certifications. So from a procurement process with the government. So when the government entities put out like RFPs for somebody to bid on either supplying the government with something or a government entity with something, or for example, they put a roof on Chicopee last year, and that went through the government procurement process. And so these people with these different certifications, it helps level the playing field as far as they're concerned. So that's what the Office of Minority Business Development can help out with. We also have at the Gwinnett campus, UGA Gwinnett campus, we have an international trade group. And there's 3 people, and what they do is they work with Georgia-based businesses that are looking to export their products internationally, and that group can help set them up, has access to the attorneys, knows whichever country or countries you're dealing with. They can help you with all the legalese to a certain point, and then probably more than likely going to have to pass it off to a international attorney that specifies in whatever country you're looking to do business with. And then lastly is agribusiness. We have a gentleman, his name is Bill Boone, and Bill's down at the Tifton campus, and that's kind of the heart of all of our agribusiness is down there in Tifton. But we're able to help farmers and ranchers and anybody that's in agriculture in any way, shape, or form with any business or cottage business that they're looking to develop. So I talked about, all those big numbers, 4,200 clients, 35,000 hours in consulting. These stars represent the 17 offices throughout the state. It's just one network. So for example, I have a background in food service and urgent care, which sounds like they don't mix, but that's what I did prior to coming here, and then had my own consulting business. So when it comes to medical practices or urgent cares, I get calls from other offices throughout the state to be able to help them consult. So we do call consulting. So we have 17 offices, but it's a really big network of people. There's over 100 people like myself and like Bart that throughout the state in these 17 offices that are able to help people with whatever it is their business. Usually we have somebody that's been in one of those businesses. We have retired vets, we have retired physicians and so forth that have worked, and so we can get you in front of the right people that you need. So down here at the bottom, those are the 6 that we have a relationship with, that their universities fund more of their budget, whereas the University of Georgia, the other 11, is the secondary funding agent. And these 6 universities, the SBDC there. So those are called contract centers. This is the group of people at our office here in Athens. We're 12 counties. Laura Katz is our area director. She's been with the SBDC for almost 6 years now. She's got an MBA, 15 years of experience in business experience prior to coming in and doing consulting. Her specialty is product marketing and business development. I have been here, as Tyler said, since October of last year. I started October 1st of 2015. I have experience in the retail, restaurant, and urgent care operations. Barton Jacoby, who is here with me today, is one of the other business consultants. He has a JD, MBA, 15 plus years of experience. His specialties are strategic planning, sales operations, and mergers and acquisitions. And then Stacy Johnson's our program coordinator, and the program coordinator is the one that's constantly working on all of those different programs that we put out there to help people from an educational learning standpoint. These are a lot of our corporate sponsors. They find that the work we do to be very helpful in the community, especially Georgia Power. I was lucky enough to talk to one of their executives. I was at their building one time, and they said that they promote the SBDC pretty heavily because they can always tell when one of their big clients is running into cash flow problems. The electric bill doesn't get paid. So they're very selfish in wanting that electric bill paid, so they will try to help these small businesses by getting some of these educational programs in front of them so that the electric bill can be paid and the person doesn't go out of business. But that's just a group that sponsors us. Talked about some of our programs coming up. Our next one, as we work towards the end of the year, as the holidays get closer, it's always a little harder to get people to attend. But on December 2nd, we have a Women's Business Expo. It'll be our 5th annual. It really is a great day of learning. We run it like a TED Talk. So it's a series of speakers throughout the day on different subjects. We hit marketing and time management. And what we do is we have a board of advisors and past participants, and what they do is they keep feeding us what are the hot topics that they would like to see, and then we try to craft the program around that. We do have vendors come in, different vendors that want to get in front of this group. We have had between 35 and 50. I think 35 is our lowest attended, 50 was our highest attended in the 4 previous years. And so the vendors get to interact, and we have lunch and have a series of networking. It worked out really good. I attended last year, and it's a lot of fun. And that's us online. And that's it for what I had. I was just going to open it up. This usually sparks more questions than anything else on what it is we can do or will do or how we do it or how you find us or anything like that. Is there anybody has any questions about the SBDC or our role or what we can do to help you? Yes, sir.
What's the process by which we go about connecting with your office and identifying the right people in your
Okay, so on that brochure, I believe there is a contact number, and most everything goes through Stacy unless you meet me or you meet Bart out in the field and we're talking and you say, hey, that's a great connection. You've done some things that are pertinent to me, and I would really like to get in front of you. But you can talk to Stacy. She'll go through a Q&A with you, and she'll set you up. So here in Athens, even if we reach out to one of the other 16 offices throughout the state, you'd have somebody that would be your consultant here, and we might bring them in. So we would be the ones that would be able to go out and help you find that industry expert that would be more pertinent to what you're doing. I think you'd be a little surprised. I was talking to Tyler earlier. I'm not a science guy by any way, shape, or form. Just a retail management type person, and how I got into urgent care is kind of an interesting story. When I had my own private consulting firm, I had been hired by a bank, two struggling pro football players that owned 11 restaurants in Jacksonville, Florida. So they were Jacksonville Jaguar football players. And they were just drawing down tremendous amounts of money from the bank. They were at the end of their careers. Yeah, they had one time had huge contracts, but the contracts are going away. So the bank's going, whoops, that collateral, that safety net is no longer there. So went in within a year, was able to help right the ship, sell the restaurants, get them out of it. And these two football players, being celebrities down there in that Jacksonville, Florida community, were campaigning for a gentleman that was running for governor at the time. This is 2009, 2010. And so after we closed on selling their business, the next day I got called from one of his team. And I was governor, he's now the governor, Rick Scott, and said, hey, we'd like to talk to you about coming to work with our team. We heard, you did some good things for the two football players. And I just started laughing. I was like, I have no medical background. I've never done anything in that. And they said, no, but you understand profitability and you understand customer service. And we think that those are two things that we really want in the urgent care industry. So I went to work for them, and things went pretty good until right after he got elected. And then the Supreme Court of the state of Florida, they don't have very good blind trust laws in Florida. So the Supreme Court said, hey, the chief executive officer of the state making all these Medicaid decisions cannot own facilities that can take Medicaid. We see that as a conflict of interest. So then I got to learn more about mergers and acquisitions because I was on the sales team to help sell the company, and we did that. And then with that experience, I got recruited by a company called Luxottica. And Luxottica is the eyewear manufacturer, and I was vice president of operations for the 906 Sears stores in North America, so including Canada, and did that. So once you get your foot in the door, it kind of works. And at the end of the day, they're all businesses. They all have to make money. And so when you understand that, I think that that's a driving force, the common denominator. No matter what it is that you're trying to do. So hopefully that answered your question. Yes, sir.
So what is the extent of the help that you offer? For example, with Danny's example with the website design, what is the extent of that you can help a company you can start from scratch, or you need something to build from it? How much can you help a company that is like setting up a website, for example?
Right, so we're not graphic artists, and we do not technically put all of it together, but what we can do is get you low cost or no cost resources to get you in front of that are people that are experts in whatever field you're looking for. We do a lot of things in business every day, so we have a great network. There's a lot of business people here in Athens and throughout the whole state of Georgia that frequently talk to us, call on us, bankers, insurance agents, just different people along those lines, so that we have those connections. So when you talk to us about your need, we can cut through the weeds and get you to the right person that can help you. But we don't actually design websites. more of what we can do is we can help with a marketing plan and how does that fit into your overall marketing plan, your website. But from a graphic artist and building it and so forth, we're going to point you and give you a resource list, and then you can choose from that what you think is going to be best for you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm just curious as to whether or not the SBDC model is sort of replicated in other states. I know that the governor deal talks about Georgia being the #1 state to do business. I think it's ranked by site selection, maybe a couple of other publications. I didn't know if that ranking had anything to do with the work SBDC is doing across the state, and if other states have sort of implemented a similar program.
So as I talked about earlier when I first kicked off, it was started at the University of Georgia. University of Georgia and the University of California, Berkeley were the first two to ever have one. There are now 63 SBDCs. Some of the bigger states have numerous. I think California has 5 and Texas has 4. And then U.S. territories, Guam, Puerto Rico, I'm blanking on one of the others that have them. But so now it's not just Georgia, but every state has them and has several offices per state like we do. They break it up so that they can handle the constituents of their particular state. Now, some of them do it a little bit different because the state laws are different from state to state and how the funding works, but it's pretty much all the same. And then there's one national organization that just met in September, and it's the ASBDC. I always have to go really slow with that. For some reason, I want to get the letters all mixed up. But so that's for the Americas, and then what it does is gets together each year and shares best practices and different things that different offices come up with that can help somebody else. They present on it, and then they make those tools available from that.
Do you find that most of the businesses that are coming your way are mostly agricultural based, or are they food based, or can you give us a percentage of what you see out there? Are they tech companies?
Yeah, we get a lot. Being here at UGA, the reason I'm here speaking is I had talked to Stefan in the past. I've helped a couple of people that have come through the Innovation Gateway, some a little more early on, others further down the road where it's just one or two little pieces they need to put together to complete their package. One that seems to be kind of common is from the science community. Once they get in and UGA leases them some space, and then they got to come up with business insurance. So getting that, we've done that on a number of occasions and helped people out that are, officing here or one of the other facilities on campus, from the protection liability insurance and so forth. But to talk about the depth and breadth, I kind of thought that there would be, my thought of getting into it before I got here would be that, it would be all kind of little mom and pop type places. And I've been, shocked. I've had companies that have been $12-15 million a year that just feel like they're stagnant and they've hit a growth wall. I had a 48-year-old cabinet maker that grandfather had the business, dad had the business, now he has the business, and they got to pivot. They got to go a different direction because cabinets 48 years ago are different than cabinets now. So you have to look at that. So that's more from a high-level strategic planning standpoint. We do get a lot of startups that are looking for capital, and we'll kind of walk them through the 5 C's of credit, what's going to be important there for them to get in front of a lender, if they want to go traditional lending route, or an investor or an angel investor, or try to do something like a crowdfunding or a DPO, along those lines. And DPO is basically crowdfunding. So on those targets, it's really a little bit of everything. Right now, I'm currently working with somebody that's a large farmer, rancher. I have a couple of startups, one in more like kind of medical equipment. Let's see, a dentist, 2 dentists actually, and then some inventors that have invented some things and are trying to struggle. Do they get the patent or not? Or do they try to go to a company and maybe try to sell what they have to that company, the drawings and everything, and their prototype? Because that's always very difficult. Inventing something new is great, but getting the money behind it to be able to get out there and capitalize off of it after it gets commercialized, that startup, depending on how complex whatever it is you invent is, can be very, very difficult. And so that's where we sit down and we talk about strategically. It might be better for you to get the patent and then either try to sell your patent or try to license it or work on it. And that can apply from somebody that develops a chemical process here in the organic chemistry department at UGA to the jam and jelly maker that lives in a small town outside that's got this secret recipe that everybody's to die for. So there's really the same obstacles or the same barriers that they see in both cases are very, very difficult. If you're going to invent something food-wise, commercial kitchen, get it to the part where you can produce it to put it into Kroger or some type of big store like that, that startup cost, and that's tens of millions of dollars. And you might have something that's a dynamite food product, but you're going to be better off going to Ken's Food or Kellogg's or General Mills or somebody like that, partnering with them and taking a percentage off of your recipe or whatever it is that you have. And I think that in talking to Tyler and Stefan a little bit, sometimes that's what happens to scientists. They might invent something that's a little bit different, but to get it fully funded to be able to produce, the new chemical or the new drug or whatever it is, it might be a more effective path to partner with a pharmaceutical company or a lab or somebody else from there. So I hope that answered your question. Anybody else? So no one's sleeping yet, that's good.
There are more questions, I'm sure, Michael and Bart.
Yeah, and I'll stick around for a little while. And I just, I mentioned Bart. Bart has been with us about 90 days. And, we've worked on a number of projects together. Very bright guy. He's got some great stories. Did a lot of, worked with a lot of startups in Silicon Valley. So he was kind of a coast hopper. He was in the Raleigh Triangle area and then back and forth to the Silicon Valley. So he's got a lot of great experience from that standpoint, wealth of information. We don't provide legal counsel. Basically what we do is we try to work you up to, from what we know. Now Bart obviously knows a lot more than I do because he's a JD when it comes to the law. But, it's from a liability standpoint for the university and from the federal government. They don't want us dispensing legal advice. So what they try to do is, or what we try to do is work you up. I use this analogy or metaphor where if you go to an attorney and you give them a blank page, they're going to fill it up and it's going to cost you for every hour they spent on it. If we can help coach you and say, hey, do all this so that you filled up most of the page, and then really what they're doing is proofreading it or correcting or fixing, then that's going to cost you less money. So that's about as far as we go with our legal advice. And the same thing with tax advice. There's, I'm currently a business owner. I own 2 small businesses here in Athens, and over my life I've owned 7 different restaurants. And so, through trial and error, usually more error, I've learned some of the tax code a little bit better. Once you get bit by it, then you try not to make that mistake again. But, we just kind of like nudge you in a direction and then tell you to take that to your CPA, and they can help set it up for your personal situation.
Can you recommend individuals?
Yes, we do. We have resource lists, like I was talking about earlier. We put together resource lists, people that have really helped out clients in the past, and we put them on a list. So you come to us. So we don't get any kickbacks, commissions, or anything like that. So what we try to do is put a list together. So if you were to ask for an attorney, we'd give you at least 3 names. So if it's patent attorneys, we have 3 people that we've worked with, or we have just our attorney resource list that people have done work with us that our constituents or other people prior to you have said have done a good job for them. So kind of helps you, I guess, what is that? Better than Craigslist and just a little. All right. Any other questions? I'll be around for a while if anybody has anything one-on-one. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for letting me be here.